Good evening. It was a slaughter of the innocents as a suicide bomber deliberately targeted children and families who were leaving a concert in the heart of Manchester. That suspect has now been identified as 22-year-old Salman Abedi, a British man of Libyan origin.
Perhaps best summed up by the words of the Mayor of Greater Manchester, Andy Burnham, who said simply that the terrorists wouldn't win.
Dave Cowan in central Manchester, thank you. Well, there has been, as Dave was saying, a real sense of shock as the details of last night's attack began to unfold. ITV's Martin Geisler has been following the events. We begin in London tonight, where the Grenfell Tower block, home to up to 600 people, is still burning. The fire broke out between midnight and 1 a.m. when most of the families in that residential block would have been asleep. Well, fire chiefs have described the fire as unprecedented and warned that the death toll is likely to rise. Mhairi Black became the first MP to use the C words in Parliament today. The Paisley MP didn't pull her punches during a debate on misogyny, and deliberately so. Do you think that you're targeted specifically because you're a woman or because you're a woman in a position of power?
To be honest, I don't know. Quite often I think it's just because folk have decided that they don't like me.
The 39-year-old political newbie topped the poll with 23.8% of the votes, and he'll face the far-right National Front leader Marine Le Pen, who came second on 21.5%. Now, both candidates have 2 weeks to win over the voters before the final runoff. Live now to Paris and STV's Gordon Cree.
This is a country that hasn't had its troubles to seek.
After your last visit to China, there was a memorandum of understanding signed, which was dubbed the Scottish Shambles after the $10 billion deals collapsed. What lessons have been learned in that regard?
Well, of course, with that memorandum of understanding, there were no financial or legal deals signed.
Welcome back to the France 24 newsroom. I'm Hala Mohiuddin. Thanks for joining us. Now, we start this bulletin with the breaking news that South Korean Prime Minister Chung Hong-won has offered his resignation over the government's handling of the Seawalt ferry disaster. The South Korean government has faced increasing anger from the relatives of the victims, who have accused the government of not doing enough to rescue or protect their loved ones. Now, France 24's Andrew Salmon is in Seoul to tell us more about this announcement. Andrew, thanks for joining us. The relatives have been incredibly angry over this disaster. Chung was heckled when he visited families the day after. How will this resignation be received, do you think? Under attack, 2 hostage situations brought to a dramatic end following 3 days of violence which began with a bloodbath at the Charlie Hebdo magazine. Investigators now piecing together the facts, trying to establish how terrorists could have killed 17 people across 3 days. France's worst terror bloodshed on home soil in over half a century. Welcome back to France 24's special coverage of France under attack. 17 people are dead after 3 days of terror here in the French capital. I'm joined on set by Armin Georgian from the International Affairs Desk. Armin, thanks for being with us this morning. Al-Qaeda thrust back into the focus here. We've spent so much time over the last few months talking of the Islamic State organisation. Al-Qaeda seemed to be as strong as ever. Have we taken our eye off the ball? Let's bring in Marcus Carlson once again. Marcus, lots of developments happening this evening. The French police now, they're saying they've just released a photo of a man they want to know more about. Can you tell us more about this, Marcus?
72 hours on. How are people reacting today?
We've all been told to stay indoors, we've all been told to stay at home, and yet people are still trying to make that effort to come down here and show unity, to show remembrance. And it's just going to be a case of wait and see if this spirit continues as the city comes to terms with what's happened. And the director of SCIAF, Alistair Dutton, is with me now. Alistair, Oxfam was accused of concealing the action it took when staff members were accused of sexual misconduct. Has SCIAF concealed the actions your organisation took?
Absolutely, in no way.
Supporters of Mrs Zaghari-Ratcliffe say there is evidence that strongly suggests she is being mistreated. Let's cross live now to Nazanin's husband, Richard Ratcliffe, who's in our London studio. Mr Ratcliffe, do you think it is now time for the UN to intervene in your wife's case? The UK's larger firms have just under an hour and a half left to register their average gaps in pay between male and female employees.
And we're nowhere closer to answering the important questions for women in the workplace.
I mean, she has a point to an extent. We're not comparing like with like. It's very difficult to paint a broad brush over this.
So this isn't equal pay. This is looking at the gender pay gap.
Another week, another report of a mass shooting in America, this time in a high school. Former pupil Nicholas Cruz has been charged with 17 counts of premeditated murder after opening fire on his former classmates. But as the shock of events in the States sinks in, the wider picture of America's gun problem is no less troubling. There have been 30 mass shootings since the beginning of 2018 alone. And this Florida tragedy is the 18th in a school, the 18th school shooting in the first 45 days of this year. The stakes are high across the UK, and here in Scotland the scene is set for compelling political drama. We're saying the Conservatives are the largest party. Our prediction has them on 314 seats. Labour on 266. The SNP have 34 seats. Liberal Democrats have 14, and there are 22 others, which include the 18 Northern Ireland seats, plus 3 Plaid Cymru and 1 Green. This means the forecast this year is for a hung parliament, with the Conservatives the largest party, but 12 seats short of an overall majority. Well, let's get across Scotland now and hear from some of our team of reporters. Our first stop is Edinburgh and the Meadowbank Sports Centre, from where STV's Holyrood editor Colin Mackay joins us now. Colin, before we talk about what's happening where you are, could you just give us your reaction to that exit poll?
I agree with Bernard. Wow.
And Lorraine Kelly joins me now. Lorraine, welcome to the Seven.
Thank you. It's lovely to be here. It's a great show.
This is the Seven, but this is also the 7th appeal
I know.
that you've hosted. It's done some amazing things in Scotland, hasn't it?
It's been phenomenal. I mean, we started out 7 years ago not really knowing how it was going to go.
You've been hosting this ever
it's
since the inception. Why are you so drawn to the appeal? Why do you keep coming back?
Do you know what? It's the best night of the year. I just absolutely love it. It's totally uplifting.
Now, how many hours shut-eye do you get per night? If you're anything like me, the answer is probably not enough. But it is a problem which is increasingly affecting people a whole lot younger than me. In fact, a team of experts from across the UK are set to take a closer look at teenagers and their sleep patterns. And here's why. A survey by Sleep Scotland found that only 1% of the 800 teenagers they asked felt satisfied with their sleep every night.
If you're not really that tired, if you're stressing about what you've got the next day, then it is harder to fall asleep. So, yeah.
OK, so a lot more pressure that you're facing than perhaps I faced when I was younger. Jill, let me come to you. Do you think that teenagers need more sleep than they're getting at the moment?
Yes, they absolutely do.
Well, 40 years on, and Voyager 1 and 2 are still providing us with new revelations about our place in the universe. Travelling at 17 kilometres per second, Voyager 1 has flown further than anyone or anything in history. It's now travelled out of our solar system and into the space between the stars. And before we leave you to get rousy-bowsy or whatever else you prefer to do on a Friday night, ponder this. How's my parget today? Does it make me look more snout fair? And before you think I've completely lost my mind, I assure you I am talking English. These Harry Potter-worthy words have fallen out of usage. The full list is available on the STV News website, but should they come back? Well, betrump means to deceive or cheat. I'm just going to leave that there. Well, ear rent is the figurative cost to a person of listening to trivial or incessant talk. And on that note, I'll sign off before I get handed a bill. You have been watching STV News tonight. Time for me to peacock eyes my way off set, but I'm back with you and the rest of the team on Monday night at 7. Have a good weekend.